Hello, friends, and welcome to today's episode of Booked. I'm your host, Saffron Asteria, and I'm joined today by the creative writing wizard himself, Glen Weatherhead. How you doing?
Indeed. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here. I really struggled through that sentence. And the whole time I was saying, say it right, say it right, say it right. But yes, we're here, and I'm excited for this to be. This is your first live author interview, right?
That is correct. Yeah.
Oh, thank you for trusting me. I am now worried. It'll be fine. So before I ramble on with a bunch of questions, could you tell the audience a little bit about what sorts of things you write?
Sure. Yeah. So I would say primarily I'm a fantasy author. I tend to aim for like more grim bright, but some of the short stories I've written lately have been like tending towards the darker fantasy, which is fascinating. But yeah, I would say mostly I write short stories right now for my published stuff, but I've been working on a novel for a few years now. That's going to be coming out soon, TM. And I also write to a newsletter, the Creative Writing Wizard newsletter, which is to encourage and support other writers and sharing a bit of my own story and how I've gone into writing. And then I also have like Substack, write 2 short stories that way too.
Just a lot of stuff.
Just a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff
and things.
You do a lot of stuff. I remember when we first started to talk, it was well over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. No, year and a half ago. I don't know. Time is an illusion. I remember seeing this indie release radar kicking around, and I was like, oh, when I was starting Idiosyncrasy, and I was like, I need to be friends with this person so that we can work in tandem with one another.
Yeah.
And I was like, hello, you don't know me, but let's talk to each other because I'm scared that we're going to do the same thing and it will be bad. So thankfully you weren't like block. And you and I have worked on a project together. So we did the Star Path Creatives writing contest. Nearly forgot what we did then, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, it's been really exciting to see all the stuff. I'm not going to tell you everything. Obviously, you can tell people what you want them to know, but seeing all the cool stuff that you're working on in the background, it's very exciting. And Glen is definitely one to watch. So get yourself over to wherever he is, not in his house. I meant on socials.
Preferably not there, yeah.
There should be links down below. But yeah, you are doing all sorts of stuff. So do you, what do you want to talk about first? I'm getting overexcited.
Man. Yeah, I mean, I guess I could touch on the indie release radar a bit.
Yeah, go for it.
Kind of like a bit of a author journey moment as well. So I would say about 3 years ago, as you say, time is an illusion. Roughly 3 or 4 years ago, I started writing and working on my own book, and I was like, yeah, I should probably get on socials and start sharing with people because that's the thing that authors probably do. So I did that for a bit. But what was interesting is while I was doing that, I saw so many other authors doing the same thing. And I noticed that a lot of authors shared and then got like 0 engagement. And that really bummed me out because like I know and I knew at that moment, it was like, I've put a lot of energy into this. And that was only like a year or so in. How disappointing it would be to like write something, publish it, and share it, and then no one engages with it. So I was like, well, I have this website that I've been, kicking around, sharing my blog, sharing a bit of my journey. I could, add a little thing on the side of like, hey, if you have a book coming out, just let me know and I'll add it. And then like pretty much like right after I did that, like the website just blew up in traffic. So I started the indie release radar. And basically since November, a few years ago, till today, I've been, every month collecting indie author books and then sharing on my website. And it's like, it's so cool to see how much visibility it's getting and like how authors are getting like amped up about it. Because it's like, like I say, it's like as an author myself now, it's like I wish people would read what I write. Like that's just, I feel like anybody would feel that way. But it's so cool to be a part of the story of like, people coming to the site, check out these books, and then they, like go off on their merry way.
Hmm.
able to be a part of that. So yeah, that's kind of a little side nugget there for the indie release radar since you brought it up.
And it's still going.
Yeah, still going. I have some planned upgrades that I'm not quite ready to talk about yet, just
That's
in
okay.
case they totally blow up and don't work out. But as I have learned
Hmm.
in the last 2 years of fix and do the thing first and then tell people about it instead of the other way around, because that's
Yes.
a bit of more of a chaotic approach, which you have definitely showed me up on several times of how you like plan ahead and like pre-plan stuff and schedule stuff
Sort
in
of.
advance. And I'm just
Sort.
like, what happens today? Let's just do some stuff. And then do that for like several months, and it's a bit chaotic, but get stuff done.
That's what I was doing as well. I don't know how I'm giving people this impression that I've got my shit together because it's not true. I may well have socials post scheduled till September, but I also have shot myself in the foot by having almost 3 guests every week booked on for the rest of the year. So that's
Yeah,
my
that's
that's not well planned or organized. I just like to say that's somebody that's got a yes problem.
yeah,
Um, yeah.
feel
So,
that.
but what's been really cool to see is the sort of growth in community that you've been able to foster, because you've been around a while now in terms of like social media longevity, because you see people like blowing up and then they just disappear into the wind because it all gets too much, but you've kind of like managed this collection of people, and seeing like how you engage with people online, it's always very positive. And I don't know, it's a good vibe over in the wizard's corner.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
someone made the reference of like what was it? They called me like the Bob Ross wizard or something like that, and I'm like,
That's
I'll
very
take that.
accurate.
I'll take that.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone else called me Tom Bombadil. Like that your profile looks like Tom Bombadil. I'm like, I'll take that too. Like
That's
yeah, I dig it.
great compliments all round.
Yeah. The only thing is I don't have a theme song yet, so I have to come up with a theme song and
Yet.
introduce my name into it, because
Yeah.
like Tom Bombadil's whole thing is I'm gonna sing about myself as I'm walking around or whatever. So I should just come up with a theme song. I feel like that would be appropriate.
That would also be a really, really good format for like TikToks and stuff.
Yeah.
You could just do that and just sing your name over and over again. You don't even have to say what you're doing. You could
yeah.
just prance around. It'd be fine. I think people would dig that. I'd watch it. I think that'd be quite funny.
Yeah. I have done the occasional silly video of like I kind of made fun of it. My first Instagram post was like about doing the silly Instagram, dances and whatever.
Mhm,
But yeah, I have on occasion done those things, but
mhm.
I tend to be a little bit more the chill vibe, which yeah, TikTok and me are not the best of friends on that. If this goes on TikTok, I apologize.
I just won't
I-
clip this bit. It's fine.
yeah.
Or maybe I will.
Uh,
Maybe that'll
yeah.
be the thing that works.
Yeah, there you go. Everyone's just like flipping out. Oh man, I can't believe you said that about TikTok. It's nothing against anyone personally. I just not my vibe, man. But I dig this. Yeah.
I went through a stage of looking at TikTok all the time during the pandemic because I was like, whisk me away where nothing is real. And that was really
Mm,
handy. But then I found that I was like super depressed. Was not
mm.
helping. But I have a booked account on there, and I post clips, and sometimes it's really nice, and sometimes people are really weird. It just depends on the person. So
Yeah, I feel
yeah.
that.
I so social media and like data analysis is something that you seem to sort of excel at. And I know that you have something on your website that like helps people to understand the algorithms and stuff. So why did you put that together?
Good question. Um, why did I do that? No. uh, yeah, I mean, I feel like my approach with most things is I am looking to solve my own problem,
Mhm,
which is social media algorithms are wild, man. Every single platform has its own algorithm, and each one has its own buttons, and you have to do different formats, yada yada.
mhm,
So that's definitely a problem as someone who is trying to get your creative work out into the world.
mhm,
So I had that problem. I'm trying to share my stuff; it's not working.
mhm,
Uh, as I was figuring out how to do that, I see other people having a similar problem. And so my next step is like, so I have a problem, I try something and I solve the problem for myself. But then I'm
Mhm,
like, well, other people are experiencing this. Why wouldn't I share that with other people? And that's
mhm,
kind of been my approach with like writing and how I do my blog. It's like the indie release radar. It's like the analysis I did for threads. It's
mhm,
just why not share what I've learned, because the author journey has enough challenges of its own that
mhm,
learning how to do social media is definitely not one of them that I think that people should have to figure out. It's like you
mhm,
shouldn't have to figure out like what keywords are working today, or
mhm,
what strategies you do in the social site. So
mhm,
yeah, so I over a period of months I pulled the data using my day job kind of nerdy
mhm,
skills of pulling data from websites, and put it together, did some analysis on it, and figured out some patterns that were pretty predictable.
mhm.
Yeah, and then shared it with people, uh, and that's kind of, yeah, a little bit about that.
So super helpful resource basically for writers who feel like banging their head against the wall. I recently booked, I'm not going to say who it is yet, but I recently booked an interview with somebody through like a publishing house, and they don't have social media.
Hmm.
And the first thing I thought was, you lucky bastard. I was so envious of this
Yeah.
person. And I was like, I can't believe you're getting away with that. I wish, boy, do I wish that was the case for me.
Yeah.
if I could employ somebody, that would be the first job. Social
Yep.
media manager. You go do that. I don't
100%.
want to be there. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Before we start talking about your work, let's say hi to some people in the chat.
Sure.
So I don't know who this is, but Spark Your Beauty, thank you for being here. Yes, you can watch without being subscribed, but it would help me out if you did.
Yeah,
But I
do
won't
it.
be upset if you don't. I'll be a little bit sad, but I won't be like proper upset. We also have Tim McKay,
Woo.
who
Hey,
is
Tim.
also wizardly. And I feel like you guys
Heck
are
yeah.
probably cousins. Also, I think Tim, are you Canadian?
I mean, we're both Canadian, so
Yeah, there
we're
you go. And
practically
you both have
related.
beards, both have glasses. Does Tim have glasses? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Anyway, that's not something I need to worry about right now. Goodness gracious me. We also have Josh from Already Overbooked. And we also have JM, the Elite Fan, which is a fantastic
Evening.
name. Oh, and we also have Dylan. Hello. Nice to meet you. So, oh yeah, agreed. Silly songs with Glenn. That could be an
Oh
untapped gold
man.
mine, by the way,
Don't
Glenn.
give me too
So
many ideas, man.
you can have that because you play instruments and sing and stuff. So, and you got the cool microphone. I think you'd
It's
smash
true.
it, to be honest.
I have my acoustic within reach. It's like right here, so
Oh,
easy
excellent. We can have a little
access.
jam.
Yeah, not busting it out today, but I
I
mean,
thought you
unless
I
we hit like a subscriber count, maybe we should do it like a challenge of like,
we're a long way
no,
off.
no.
If we can get up to 500, Glenn might do us a song.
There
So
we go.
on,
There
tell
we
your
go.
friends.
I'll bust out a song. Yeah. There we go.
um,
500, I'll bust out a song.
Perfect. We should have planned this ahead of time, actually. Auction off subscribers.
Yeah,
That
there you
sounds
go.
weird. Don't like that. We've also had Jasper join us. Hello. And I'm guessing by the name, this may be somebody that's related to you.
Yeah, totally not related. Yeah,
Hello, Norm.
just kidding. It's funny though, because I have met Weatherheads, and they're totally unrelated to me, which is fascinating. But then there was one Weatherhead that my brother met, and she connected on Facebook back in the day when people used to do that.
Mhm.
And she said that she was collecting Weatherheads, and it was like, I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, I mean, it's kind of cool because it's like maybe there's a familiar, relationship if we, trace a tree back far enough or whatever. But I don't know if I want to be collected necessarily. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know if I would want to be part of
a
like
collection.
a little menagerie of saffs. That would upset me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
giving me short story ideas though. That's for sure.
Yeah. See, I think there is one called The Collector that would probably fit
That
that.
would probably fit. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have some short stories published with some anthologies, including Storyforge's first anthology, which is very
Heck
exciting.
yeah.
So how did those come about? Is that something that you've recently been like applying for? Have you been invited to do stuff?
Yeah, so good question. So
Thanks.
you're welcome. Uh, I've got a few short stories published, which actually
Hmm.
all these. Oh, I can point this way. All
Hmm.
these are the short stories I've had published recently.
That's
This
awesome.
was actually the first one. ES Ray has a digital lit mag
Hmm.
that he puts out. I think it's quarterly. Called, oh geez, I'm gonna butcher it. Perseid prophecies. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a space term, which I
Hmm.
should know because I'm a sci-fi nerd. But anyway, this was my first short story I got published.
Hmm.
And how, I guess, how I found out about these two.
Hmm.
So this is Perseid, this is Dragonbone, was actually through social media and threads, which is kind of
Hmm.
the cool part of social media. Is like I didn't know these people before, but
Hmm.
through posting and vibing with similar posts and stuff, it's just connected over time. Both of them had open submissions, put it in, and I got onto them, which is pretty sweet.
Hmm.
So shout out to them if you haven't checked out these people, because this is Nathaniel of Dragonbone and Es Ray of Perseid Prophecies. Both super cool people. Actually, both Canadian too. That's actually unrelated to me being Canadian.
There's a
There's not like
theme.
a yeah. There's not a theme here, but I just realized that these two are both Canadian. Actually, that's also Canadian, but that's not. So there we go. I broke the.
We've got some diversity on the show
Yeah,
finally.
I broke the record. Um, yeah, I don't know. I found out through social media. Wrote up some stuff. I guess the interesting one. Well, I mean, they're all interesting. I'm biased, but they're all interesting. But this one, this is voices like these
Hmm.
with this the story forge was kind of fascinating because, like I said at the beginning, I tend to not write dark fantasy, or at least I don't aim to go that way. I start out with like, let's write a story that makes people happy, and then like, let's write about monsters that die, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, a little bit of a deviation there. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. Of I had this inspiration for an idea, and I wrote a blog post about it. Of
Hmm.
like, it was just so dark, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's intense. I'm not gonna write about that. And then Storyforge put up that they're going to do their first anthology,
Hmm.
and I was like, okay, this is pretty cool, and I like the vibe, so I'm gonna. And they're cool people, so I thought I'd write to it, and so yeah, I got back into that mindset and pounded it out and managed to get in. But man,
Hmm.
that story was just like, it was one of those ones where it was like it was bugging you that you had to write it,
Mm.
which was weird for me because I tend to not write like darker fantasy. I try to like aim for, let's say, the middle of middle gray. I guess I don't know if there's like a light spectrum, but
Hmm.
yeah, grim bright is tend to be what I aim for.
Mm. So, how have you been enjoying, or if at all, writing short form? Because you've been working on your novel, which I assume is going to be fantasy adjacent, if not solely fantasy, and it's probably going to be quite long. I'm just making an assumption. It may be a novella. I don't know.
Hmm.
But how have you found writing at shorter lengths? Like, is it something that's enjoyable? Is it something that you want to do more of?
Yeah, like uh it's an interesting question. So when I started writing, and really finding that writing is, a passion area for me, and I
Mm.
found a lot of traction here in terms of being able to progress and whatnot, which we can touch on in a bit perhaps. But
Mhm.
um, I started out with writing books because I was like, that's the thing that writers do. They write books. That's a writer thing.
Mhm.
Um, but then as I was going along, there was like these smaller nugget stories, um, that when I wrote it, I was like, that's kind of it. It doesn't really need to be any more than that. And so, kind of in that process of starting a book and then having these ideas along the way, I realize that there's like different types of vibes that I want to explore. And
Mhm.
sometimes the story is like a lot longer. Sometimes it's like a little bit like a short nugget, like the one with the voices like these. It's like I
Mhm.
had a very specific idea. I knew where it started, where it ended, and it was like I want to say 8,000 words. It was less than 10,000,
Mhm.
and I was happy with where it ended. But as far as like how do I choose between them? I don't know if there's really a process necessarily, but
Mhm.
I definitely feel like I enjoy both for different reasons. Like
Yeah.
I enjoy being able to explore, bigger worlds, have multiple events strung over time. But then I also just like being able to say this thing happened and this is how it ends and
Mhm.
then done. So yeah, it definitely does depend, but I like a bit of both.
Does it ever surprise you when you set out to write something that it's over? Like, are you ever like, oh, I can't stretch that out anymore, or I don't want to, or is it you do you usually kind of set out to do what you end up doing?
Yeah, it's funny because the short story I just wrote, it surprised me in a different way.
Mm.
And it's like it's technically not flash fiction because I think flash fiction cuts off at around like 750 words.
Mhm.
But the first draft was I think around 900 words, and
Mhm.
I was like, oh, that seems too short. I should go back and add more words. And then when I was thinking about it, I'm like, but why? Like
Mhm.
it's complete. I told the story I wanted to. I covered the beats I wanted to cover, and it was 900 words,
Mhm.
and it was like it is complete. And so
Mhm.
it's an interesting mental exploration of like how long does a thing need to be, and it's like there is no set limit. You can
Yeah.
be as short as like I think it was microfiction of like 10 to 20 words to like
Mhm.
epic fantasy of like 250,000.
That's a ton of words. Are you okay? Oh, you're taking a sip. Okay. I was like, something's muted. Do you have a lot of birds in the room? I'm kidding. Um, so before I ask you more about your writing, I just had a question that I've started asking people that I find helpful. What did you want to be when you grew up? Like when you were a kid, like what were you like? This is like the dream job, or like yeah.
Yeah, good question. Sorry, I'm kind of on a path of getting my voice back, so
That's
just went up
okay.
not an octave. So that's all good. uh, what I want to be when I was a kid, I'm pretty sure it was firefighter or pilot. I
Oh.
think were the main two. Yeah, and the pilot one was because we knew a family. One of my friends, his dad was a pilot. We flew in and out of. This is going to be a bit of a segue, but
Mhm.
we flew in and out of our village where I grew up. Um, it was kind of in the middle of a jungle in the middle of nowhere, so
Mhm.
that was kind of a interesting little thing there. Um,
Do you need a second?
uh, maybe
Okay, I'll
I
ramble on about something for a second while you clear your throat and feel a little bit better.
yeah.
So, I'm going to prepare you with the next question. Um, and this is difficult for people to answer, but I want you to have a little think about it while you're having a sip of your drink. Is I'm going to ask you what is the favorite thing that you've written so far? Like, I know it's like choosing your favorite child, but is there something that you go back to and you think, God, I'm brilliant at this?
So favorite thing that I've written?
Hmm.
That's tough.
I know.
Uh, well, it's because like I say it's tough because for one, I'm highly self-critical.
Hmm.
I tend to look at my work and I'm like, that could be better. Um, but then there's the other side of like, it's like progression of art. So like
Hmm.
the first short story I did, when I went back and read it again, I'm like, oof,
Hmm.
yeah, I've definitely progressed since then. Um, hmm, that's a good question. I don't know, like, I kind of enjoy all my stories for different reasons.
Mm.
Um, like, uh, in the short story I wrote for Crusade Prophecies, it was it was just kind of like a fun character to explore. I think that's the one that stands out to me,
Hmm.
especially because it was my first that got published. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, that's got to be something special. Like when somebody's gone, I trust this enough, and I like this enough to put my name on it as well. Because that's what everybody that publishes an anthology does. They put their own personal stamp of quality on it. So that is a lovely compliment. So I've read a couple of your short stories, and they are very hopeful, but you pack
Hmm.
a ton of emotion into them, and there always seems to be in the two that I've read anyway, it seems to be a lesson, like something to take away from it and think about. Is that something you do intentionally, or is it just like a natural storytelling trait of yours?
Hmm. I think it's kind of I'll say sometimes I think there's questions I like to explore, and
Hmm.
I don't always know what the answer is. Um, so I think that's part of it. So
Hmm.
where I approach a philosophical question or a moral question,
Hmm.
and I think to myself, what would I do in this situation? And then I use a story as a way to explore that concept.
Mm.
So, for example, in one of my short stories on my Substack, it was kind of the question around like what is the moral choice when you see something being done that is immoral or what you
Mhm.
feel like is immoral. So the situation is you've got a character who's a thief, but he's stealing from someone who is stealing from other people.
Mhm.
So it's like, is that immoral? Is that correct? Like, and then kind of like using that as like the backdrop.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know if I like set out to, teach something necessarily, but I feel like as I explore these questions, I kind of learn about myself and kind of
Mhm.
figure out what one possible answer could be to a question.
Mm. Yeah, that's something that I always wonder about. Most of the work that I read is whether or not somebody set out to like convince me of something, or try and make me reflect on certain things. Like I recently read an eco horror that part of the purpose of it was to get the reader to recognize how they're treating the planet around them and the animals, and the nature and all that sort of stuff. And it did make me feel really guilty, um as I was reading it and after I'd finished, and I thought, I wonder if it was the purpose. But at the time I thought, I wonder if this was on purpose or if I just have a guilt complex. But it was like by design. I always find that interesting because like with fantasy, because that's something that is a common theme in your work, is there is some sort of fantastical element. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Um, is that you can do absolutely anything in fantasy, and it's like generally speaking can be accepted. Um, and by that I mean like the situations that you put your characters in. Like obviously there are going to be these characteristics and tropes and things that people get a bit upset about if you change. Um,
Yeah.
but you can pretty much do anything. Like, oh, that character flies, great, okay, that's the thing that they do now. Whereas things that are rooted more in sort of reality, you have so many more limitations, and I think that's something that is quite, I don't know, powerful for fantasy writers, because you do whatever you want.
Yeah,
It's pretty
I
cool.
definitely can agree with that. Um, it's interesting because my my novel actually started out as a science fiction,
Hmm.
um, and I wrote the first three chapters as a sci-fi, and I don't know. There's something in my head about like the experience I wanted people to have going through this story. And in order to do that, I had to introduce some things that didn't really make sense from like a physics and,
Yeah.
whatever purpose. So
Hmm.
I thought about it and I was like, well, if I do it this way, then I can shift it just a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, what if I do it as a science fiction? And I was like, well, how about fantasy? And I was like, oh, That's an interesting thought. And then then I had to go back and rewrite the
Mhm,
first 3 chapters. So if you're watching this, I mean, I'll probably talk about it again at some point in the future, but uh, there's like a slightly more scientific lean of the first 3 chapters.
mhm,
But it's now I rewrote it as a fantasy because
mhm,
um, I think there's a lot of cool things that happen in sci-fi. Like one of my favorite series is like the Expanse novels.
mhm,
Um, like excellent sci-fi. I love like physics-based science fiction where it's like, you know what, that could probably happen.
mhm,
But then there's that other side of like the fantasy where it's like, yeah, you can make up whatever you want. It's like it's a ship that flies in the air because of crystals, and it's like
yeah,
that's it. Then you don't need anything else.
mhm,
And it's just fun. I think that was another part of it is just like
mhm,
the tone of the book ended up being a lot more fun. Whereas like when I started out, it was more like gritty and grounded and blah, blah, blah. So
mhm,
that was a shift away from that to be like more about exploration, about wonder, and about excitement and hope. And so I felt like fantasy fit that a bit better.
mhm,
Um, and then I also realized that a lot of my stories were close enough in feel that if I kind of put it under this overarching fantasy umbrella,
mhm,
that they actually now all connect to each other, if not loosely, then
mhm,
directly, which has been super cool because I like big plans, and so
mhm.
I've now connected every one of my stories to this central universe, which
That's
is
awesome.
super fascinating.
Mhm. That's very cool. That's very cool indeed. And again, like the fantasy readers already go into it with the suspension of disbelief, so you don't have to convince them of that. Like they know going into any sort of subgenre, most of them. If correct me if I'm wrong, it's not my bag really, but I do appreciate good fantasy. Like I'm not going to go out of my
Yeah.
way to find it, but when I read it, I'm like, oh, this is cracking. Actually, I quite like an elf. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you say that because I was like, I was sharing a bit about something that's coming out soon,
Mhm.
and I was like, "Yeah, what do you guys think of this?" And you're like, "Oh, it sounds cool." And then I was like, "Yeah, but would you read it?" And you're like, "Nah." I was like, "Well, thanks for your honesty, but I almost converted you with this one
Mhm.
because I asked you to read it, and you're like, "Dang it, you made me feel something for these characters." And I'm
I
like,
did. I
"Huzzah."
felt I felt very sad actually, and panicked and worried. I was concerned for them.
Yeah,
It annoyed me in a
yeah,
good way. I was like, "You
excellent.
bastard, Glenn."
Um,
So I know that you have some news to share, but there are a couple of questions in the chat that I just would like to show, um, if that's okay.
yeah, I dig it.
Cool. So this one, I'm not sure about the question. It says, last day on Earth, and I don't know if is it your last day on Earth or if there's a follow-up for that. So if you could expand that, I'd so appreciate it because I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, yeah.
But we have Rinna Rabbit, who's asked if somebody wanted to start reading your work, which story would you recommend?
Hmm. I would recommend Substack because it's like the
Mm,
lowest barrier because it's free.
yeah.
You can go onto Substack and start reading. It's called The Road to Tallow. It's an episodic fantasy. It's kind of like if you like, fantasy or, Dungeons and Dragons kind of vibes of like a chaotic group of adventurers trying to muddle their way through an adventure.
Hmm.
That's a good place to start. It's kind of fun. There's some stakes involved, but it's a pretty good entry point. If you want to go like the most intense, that's the
Hmm.
voices like these with Shadows of the Mountain. It's intense, it's brutal.
It's very
But
good
if
though.
you, yeah, I mean, I thank you. I think so as well. It's a fun story, but it's dark.
Hmm.
But it's kind of like even in the stories that are dark, I always try to like have some hint of like hope or
Mm.
like there's a challenge or there's a rise up against the dark. It's not always like, all right, everybody died, the end. It's like, oh geez, I want people to feel something, and maybe it's hard, maybe it's sad, But then at the end, there's just like there's a little bit of something
Mm-hmm.
that you can kind of rally around and not have total bummer vibes, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to bum people out too much. It's like you have to have a little bit of a arc there.
We are opposite.
Yeah,
I'm like,
indeed we are.
how can I make this as miserable as possible is my goal. Here we go. So is Last Day on Earth the title of the thing you were thinking of?
So no, that's the one that came out with the Dragon Bone journal. It was, I wrote it as a, oh geez, I'm trying to remember the name of the genre. It's like fantasy, but it's real. There's a different name for that, but it's like low fantasy,
Urban
urban
fantasy.
fantasy, something like that. Anyway, genre aside, it's a story about a guy that wakes up in, like kind of human world or whatever, and a fairy shows up and is like, "Hey, by the way, today is your last day on Earth," and then kind of just disappears. And then it's like, okay, what would you do in that situation? And he's like, father with a young kid, and he's married, and so it's like, what would you do? And so I kind of explore that question. Anyway, so if you want to read that, that's in the Dragon Bone. It will probably make you cry, because it made me cry while I was writing it, and I cry pretty much every time I read it. So, but it's happy tears at the end. So,
good. Okay.
well, I mean, yeah, I can't comment any further than that. But just to say, like I say, it's the emotional arcs. I try to leave you with a little bit of an up, even in the sad stuff. But yeah, that's that one.
Awesome. And just a note, you've sort of won me over, because I like both of your writings, your works, both of your works. I could talk words. Yeah. I say this every time, but I do need a lot of editing when I'm writing. I don't know if you can tell.
Oh, so many of us do, yes. But I feel like we're on opposite spectrums, because in that sense of like, you have introduced me more to like the horror genre, which I very much stay away from if I have a choice. But like this is like horror-esque. And yeah, definitely not my vibe. But as you say, it's like I've read your work, and it's like it's really good. I wouldn't go out of my way to read, that genre necessarily, but it was really well written. I appreciated the quality of the writing.
Thank you.
I had to like kind of like do this through like the story and be like at the end, but
you're not going to like black it out, I don't think. I'm still going to send it to you. I've decided I'm just going to.
I will still read it. Like I said, like, half of my face covered, but I will read it.
That's fine. If you want, I can redact it like that. Nope, I was going to say a reference. I'm going to just change the subject. Yeah. You have news.
Yes, indeed. I have double news for there's a deep cut there. Yeah, so first news, which is super cool. You guys, whoever is watching either now live or in the recording, are getting advanced news of this, which is the title of my upcoming mythic poetry collection, which is called Oak: The Last Watch. So that's kind of cool to have a little title reveal here. But the second news is that unless something crazy happens, the Oak: The Last Watch is releasing in fall of this year, which I am super duper excited about. I actually have it here, but I'm not going to show it yet because I'm not ready for a cover reveal. But it's on my desk. I'm touching it right now, which is like super cool.
I've seen it. It's a sick cover.
It's pretty really cool. Sick. I'm really happy with the artist. They did an amazing job.
So congratulations, that's very exciting. Is this the first like lengthy thing that you will have published?
It'll be the longest in the sense of like, well, it'll be kind of the longest, but also it'll be the first thing of like me publishing something that's just wholly my own writing. And it's like I've really appreciated being involved with any of these other projects. It's super cool to meet a lot of people, but this is my story that I'm sharing with other people, and that's it's really like cool. That's pretty sweet. Cool vibes.
Yeah. So for those who might be interested in this particular book, could you tell us about it? Like, how much can you reveal about its contents?
Yeah, I think I can tell a little bit about it. I I this is my first release of this sort, so I'm not really sure at what point I wanted to start talking about certain things, but,
Mhm. Whatever you
I
feel
mean,
comfortable with.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, it's like I say, a mythic poetry collection. So what that means is like it's poetry, but it's like from a person's perspective that lived in the universe, like this fantasy universe I'm building. So it's
Oh.
from their perspective, written, thousands of years ago behind this novel I've written. And it's talking about kind of the early days of the universe.
Mhm.
And I was really inspired by Tolkien with the Silmarillion and some of the Narnia references of how the world kind of began, so to speak.
Mhm.
Really inspired by that because it was like it was so kind of poetic, even though they wrote it in prose, like
Mhm.
how they talk about like the universe came together, and one of them was talking about like light, and one of them was talking about songs and stuff, and it was just kind of like a cool representation of how those universes came to be. So I was like, I kind of want to do something along those vein, like that vein, but I
Mhm.
kind of skipped that and went to okay, the universe is created, but how do people exist in this space?
Mm.
And kind of exploring, yeah, what would that be like, and how would people interact with each other? And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I felt like poetry was kind of a cool way to explore that kind of concept.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. So when did you start working on this? Was it something where you were like, I need to do something else to tell people about the background of this thing, or has it kind of been ticking along longer than that?
Yeah, I wish well, I mean, some of the things I do, are actually planned ahead, like you say, like but this one was very much, kinda came out of nowhere. There was a life event that I won't reveal in this channel, but,
Mhm.
future, if you follow along, you might hear about it.
Mhm.
But there was a positive life event, I should clarify,
Mhm.
that kind of brought up a whole bunch of emotion, and it was like, I need a way to channel this into
Mm.
something, and it was just like a burst of, like, creative writing.
Mm.
So I actually ended up writing pretty much the whole thing in, like, a week or less. It
Oh,
was a
wow.
lot, like, it was just pouring out. So yeah,
Hmm.
first draft, I think I wrote in about a week or less,
Mhm.
and it was just so intense, and it was so cool to explore from poetry because, like, most of my writing, if not all of my writing up to now, has been mostly, prose and, like,
Mhm.
stories and whatnot, but to explore it from, like kinda like a lyrical poetry, so it's like
Mm.
I'm still getting familiar with some of these terminologies, but it's like it doesn't rhyme, but it flows like it's a song. I
Mhm.
think it's lyrical, non-rhythmic poetry. I don't know. There's probably some specific term for that. But anyway, yeah, so life event happened, just this intense moment,
Mhm.
and then it kind of just, yeah, channeled out of me.
Hmm.
And then it was like, yeah, it kind of tied in with the universe and how the universe started and how people experience that. And then it's like part of my master 25 to 30-year plan, which who knows how far I'll get along, but I'll go as far as I can. And how it's like how it weaves together all the different things,
Mhm.
and kind of like starts planting seeds, so to speak, of what's to come in the future universe, which is pretty fascinating.
That's a really cool vehicle to be able to do that.
Indeed.
Very cool. Well, this has gone by so quickly. I thought it had been 15 minutes. It's been triple that. I can math stuff. I do like to ask people the same questions at the end of every show. So I'm going to do that now. And that was your warning. So,
Nah.
as an author, what does success look like to you?
Yeah, it's a good question, and even though you warned me in advance to think about it, I totally didn't, so I'm gonna answer off the cuff. Um,
Fine. Follow your heart. It's fine.
yeah, that's it. Um, I actually need to remember what the question is. Do you mind repeating it? Because I
Of
kinda
course,
blanked out.
yeah. So, and remember, this isn't a job interview, so you can answer
Yeah,
it however you like. What does success look like to you as an author?
success, indeed. Yeah, I mean, I think I've thought about that a lot of, like it would be nice to, be full-time author, make income or whatever. But the thing that I've really narrowed it down to is about exploring, a lot of these questions that I have and like exploring in myself, but then also sharing the experience with other people. So um, I'm exploring thoughts, and I like to think in deep, philosophical kind of tangents.
Hmm.
So I'll continue to do that. But the part that I'd say is successful for me is if I'm able to share this experience with other people, and for other people to experience those emotions. Like I feel like a lot of my stories are like emotion based of like I
Mm.
want you to feel the story. I don't want you just to read it and then forget about it. It's
Yeah.
like when you read this, you're probably going to cry. When you read this, you're probably going to cry. I don't know if there's a common theme here or not, but just the saying of like I want that to be shared because there's
Yeah.
something powerful about sharing in the emotional experience of reading that I think would be a success if I can
Mm.
um, at least one person. That's my rule. So I've already checked it with this one because you said you liked it. So
Yeah.
there we go.
I did.
Just got to
There you
get
go.
some feedback on the other ones, and then I'm good.
Sweet. You hear that, people? You need to go read these things and then go tell Glenn how much you like them, and then he'll feel good and nice. That's, I mean, that's the goal of this thing, isn't it? It's trying
Isn't
to
it?
get people to read your stuff, and it's just not easy. It's not
Mm,
easy to convince people. I could speak. It's not easy to convince people to spend time and money on something that they're not familiar with a stranger. Like that is, it's a hard gig. So
indeed.
yeah, I mean, the fact that you've been able to be a part of these is phenomenal because it means at least one other person read it and liked it, and that'll be the person, like the editor for the anthology. Um, so my last question for you is: if you could go back to when you first started writing and give yourself any advice, what advice would you give?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I feel like I explore that a lot with my blog
Mm,
because I feel like every article I write is kind of like advice I give to myself a week ago, basically.
mm,
Mm, I've learned something about the writing process. I've grown through a challenge, and I then share it to my past self, which is
mm,
why I share it with other people.
mhm,
Um, but I think one of the things that stuck me for like the longest time was getting started on something.
mm,
I always wanted whatever I did to be really, really well done, and
mm,
that's a generally good thing to pursue excellence in whatever you do. But
mm,
um, when it came to writing and even the broader creative works, it always tripped me up because whenever I wrote a short story, the first draft was terrible. And it's like if you went back and read it, it's like, oh my gosh, why am I even writing? This is trash. Um, so, uh, but that was a learning experience to know that that's actually okay.
mhm,
It's okay for the first draft to be terrible and rough and messy and all over the place.
mhm,
um, the the thing that I wish I'd have told myself years and years ago when I started writing is just get whatever it is out on paper, just dump it all out, get it there so it exists, and
mhm,
then make it better. Because that shift was the thing that led to me finishing my book. I've started so many stories over the
mhm,
years, but it was that little shift of just get it out on paper and then make it better. That yeah led to me finishing my first draft in a few months after
mhm.
struggling for 20 some years to write something.
That is the exact advice that helped me as well. Because I think there is this misconception when you first start taking writing like seriously in terms of like wanting to publish it. So like you can take it seriously and not publish it, but I mean like other people are going to read this, and I think one of the scary things is that we just automatically assume that the first thing that we produce needs to be perfect, and nobody's supposed to read that one. That's I like to send them to people to be like, is this worth editing? But yeah, like, as you said, like making that shift in your mind of being like, it doesn't matter if it's good. It doesn't even matter if the ending is right. It doesn't matter if, there's something missing from it. You've just got to get to the end. You got to have that dumpster fire draft, and then you can start chiseling away at it. But you're not going to be able to make anything if you don't have any material. So, I mean, I've spoken to people that do like 10, 12, 15 drafts, which I think is a bit much. But because they really just dump it all out, and then there's a lot to be moved, and especially if you've got like a really complicated world and you've got to make things, finagle them all around and stuff. But yeah, I will mirror that as being very good advice, because that is why I finished the first draft of my book, because I was like, oh, it doesn't have to be good. That's fine. And then it wasn't, but it will be. And that's okay too. Oh dear. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate you spending your time with us and for sharing your exciting news. So look out for Glen's newest publication in the fall. We don't have an exact date, but let's not pressure him. In fall this year. If you're watching this live, thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching the recording, also thank you for joining us. I'm going to do the cringy thing and say, please do subscribe to this channel, because I'm trying to get these people in front of more people. I can't do that on my own. I need your help. So it doesn't cost you anything. Just do it, please. There's also a QR code leading to Glen's work there, and there are links below. I've made it very easy for you. Thank you very much, Glen, and I will see you on the other side.
Indeed. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Goodbye, everybody. The cursor's not in the right place. Okay, bye.